So how did you come up with your band name?
Well, Bekhazu Durin is Kuzdul for Hammer Durin, which Kuzdul being the Dwarven language. And the Hammer of Durin is basically the hammer that the god Durin, the god of the people, the folk of the Lonely Mountain, in Tolkien's writings, it's their primary god, their father god.
So why did you decide to record this album?
We decided to record our demo album Dwarves of Yore because we want to portray a message through our music to the growing underground population of European traditionalists. As you may know, or may not, our culture was destroyed long ago because most of it wasn't written down or was interpreted wrongly or destroyed. And we're trying to bring back as much of it as we can and inform European cultures and European people of the beautiful culture that we had before Christian invasion. And basically we just want to portray this message to, as not in an offensive way, but in a way that empowers our people and that shows them that we were something greater beforehand.
To me, black metal is a revolt against the modern world. Basically, it's very, it's not in a competition of, you know, all this high quality and high production sound and all of this mainstream, you know, typical things that you usually see. Black metal, you know, a lot of people represent black metal with like the Satanist, dark, very evil, really evil imagery, Satanism, kill Christianity, you know, all kinds of stuff like that, anti-Christian, anti-Abrahamic faith. But to me, it's more of like it's an empowerment, an underground empowerment, where you know you're like a strong resistance to the people that are true to that, who listen to black metal. You know, the people who do are really true, whereas you have like a different genre that have like a huge crowd of people, but it's not as tight a family. Even if it's a family, but it's solitary. It's a really broad concept if you think about it. It's different. Influences consist of Dark Throne, Immortal, the bigger black metal bands, Buddhism, Varg, we all know Varg. He's a big influence on us because of his way of life and his simplistic living. But other than musically, we're influenced by nature and simple ways of living, back to older European cultures, to pagan cultures, Wiccan, even, you know, witchcraft as they call it. But although we don't necessarily portray witchcraft, you know, it involves a lot of the nature aspects we're looking at, and mostly just paganism and nationalism, I guess if you want to use a modern political term, but it's not exactly nationalism, it's just conservation of our culture and the beautiful, the landscape we come from and the people we live with. And, you know, and other than that, we have more underground musical influences we listen to, like Caliban Brood and Summoning, which is very ambient black metal, and they portray fantasy themes with a hidden message too. It could be portrayed the way we're doing things. Okay, so we're making a lentil stew now. We're just going to be using some of these button mushrooms, carrots, celery, potatoes, some onion. And we have a few spices, some bay leaf and rosemary, turmeric, sea salt, basic stuff. And usually we'd forage mushrooms in the fall and spring, but it's the beginning of spring and we're going to have to use some store-bought. So when we talked about black metal being a revolt against modern music, we also meant it in the lifestyle we're trying to depict in our lyrics. The way our ancient European ancestors did it. You know, the simple living. A revolt against the modern world is not the way we see it, like the protesting and crashing and breaking buildings and conservatives or liberals. You know, it's finding your primal instinct and finding everything within yourself instead of seeking these materialistic, useless objects that we all want. And that's what the black metal is.
And what are your lyrics portraying?
Well, our lyrics, as I said before, it talks about European culture, but we do it in I guess, a unique way. We take Tolkien's the lore of the dwarves by Tolkien, so The Hobbit and other background lore that he didn't get to write books or stuff about, and we basically interpret it as the dwarves being the European culture, and throughout the lore they get their homes stolen and their lands stolen, and they have to fight to regain it most of the time. And so we basically interpreted it in different ways and represented evil forces as forces that actually attacked European cultures. And that's basically it.
And to add to what we were saying about simplistic living and how they entirely baby us with this societal concept that they've created. What we're doing here is actually illegal. We could get fined $300 for essentially cooking in the woods, which we think is completely ridiculous, as it's something that we've been doing for who knows how long.
We wanted to pick Europe as a whole. Of course, pre-Christian Europe had a lot of different forms of paganism, and they had a lot of different, tribal cultures. We both come from Italian ancestors, so we like to look into how the Roman paganism played out, how the Gauls played out, and the Nords from Nordic paganism, the Gaulish paganism, like the Celts, and the Roman. It's basically our three main influences of paganism. But we want to represent Europe as a whole, because now more than ever in modern times is the European culture, as we see it, under attack. Black metal vocals add an eerie dimension to it, a melancholic voice. It's the voice of a depressive, of an angry, of a isolated being. It's this cold, melancholic anger I think we all feel sometimes, but we're in ways we don't know how to express. But black metal is that coldness.